True story, I did walk down the stairs of my house. We have a 3-story house. The very first day, true story, I did walk down the stairs singing that exact song. My wife said, stop. All right, so let's talk. First of all, I have a training that I'm going to share with you, but I think first of all, probably most of you would like to know some cool things that are happening, right? Okay, so I'm going to share a couple. By the way, Rob, Charlene, awesome. Charlene, you're always on target. Rob gets off slightly. All right, so what Rob said about Canada, about building, making your list, yes. What Rob said about crossing off applications and putting UK, no. All right, so just wanted to share that with you as we get started. I put in my notes, no. All right, so wanted to make sure I covered that. All right, so I want to talk about a couple things. One is some things that are happening, because I think that you ought to know some of the things that are happening so you kind of know what to prepare for, right? And then I'll get into some training and so forth. So I've got a bunch of notes here. By the way, we had 2 days where we had all the senior network vice presidents and Darnell Self and Brian Crothers and John Addison, and we spent 2 days in the situation room. There is actually a room at Legal Shield called the situation room. So when we get really serious, we go to the situation room, all right? So we went to the situation room, and we spent all this time talking. And first of all, let's talk about LS Engage for a second. So I think we're at a place where what you're going to see LS, and if you're not really utilizing LS Engage, I want you to make sure you're logged in, you download the app to your phone, and you move the icon to your home screen. See, what happens is you get so many things on your phone that it ends up like on screen 3, so when you get messages come in, you don't see it. So move your LS Engage app icon to your home screen so that when we communicate with you, you see the little red circle come up that there's messages for you so that you know to pay attention to communication. But I'm going to tell you, this week alone, what you're going to see is you're going to see us starting to put premium dollars right next to your counters. You can actually see what your premium looks like. And then the next couple weeks, you're going to see a cool widget on your home screen that actually shows you, it's going to be the Performance Club and Performance Club Pro with a different retention. It's the grid, and it'll actually show you in green what you are qualified for this month. And then it'll show you in yellow what you would qualify for if you just did a little bit more activity. And so you'll be able to see all of those things. And we actually have about 12 updates that are coming to LS Engage over the next 90 days. And we have someone that's really taken this challenge on for us at Legal Shield. She's doing an amazing job. She's working extremely fast. She's only had it for about 10 days, but I knew she'd be the right person to really make that the tool we need in the field to be really user-friendly, easy to use. You can look up your Performance Club, folks, really easy. You can get on there. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to change the genealogy function so that's a lot easier for you all to use, see, operate, things like that. And in the meantime, while we're fixing the genealogy function, we're going to go ahead and just put the Legacy Online right on LS Engage. So when you go ahead and you click on LS Engage, you'll see the Legacy Online. It'll be single sign-in. So once you're already signed into LS Engage, it goes right to Legacy Online, and you don't have to re-sign in to see your Legacy Online. It'll all be part of that. So I could probably do an hour on just what we're fixing on LS Engage, but you're going to be pretty excited about what's coming down the pike, all right? Number 2, Prospect by Legal Shield. How many would agree that, a lot of us use Prospect as our main prospecting tool? We're doing a lot of training. If you haven't seen Brian Carruthers' training on Prospect by Legal Shield on the Legal Shield Success channel, please go there and watch it on how to really utilize this amazing tool. But, how many would like to see a day where when you sign up a brand new associate, that they only have like 6 or 8 things on Prospect by Legal Shield so that when they want to send out a membership video, there's just like 1 option or 2 options. When they want to send out an opportunity video, there's only like 1 or 2 options. We have resources for Ladies of Justice. We have resources for Legal Shield in Espanol. And by the way, if you haven't noticed, we now have the recruiting video for Legal Shield in Espanol on Prospect. But we're going to have the tool is being done in a way that there's going to be lots of options for you to push to your app. But as far as when a brand new associate gets the app, it's going to be a very simple, scaled-down version so they can just go out, get to work, help people level up, and then as they get more experience, they can push some of the other really incredible tools to the app as they know how to use those tools. So you're going to see some of those changes coming very soon on Prospect by Legal Shield. We're also looking at our recognition program in a way to say, hey, how can we just recognize more people all the time? We want to recognize Mad Streak, and you guys did a fabulous job recognizing Mad Streak, but you're going to see on LS Engage, where it'll actually show you your streak, how many months in a row. It'll have the streak numbers so that you don't ever want to get out of your mad streak. And mad streak is exactly that. It's a streak. It's how many months in a row have you written at least one membership? Have you recruited at least somebody? So if you've gone 12 months in a row where you've sold a membership every month for 12 consecutive months, you're on your mad streak, making a difference. So we're going to really recognize that. We're doing a lot with recognition of executive directors, performance club. We're just going to really do a better job just recognizing more people all the way across, bringing back certificates where we can email them a PDF, but then we can also send certificates at certain levels. We're looking at some different pins and just really making it so we're just recognizing people all the time for everything they're doing. So you're going to see some improvements on recognition on there as well. And then contests and incentives. I got to tell you, we were really taking a really great approach to contests and incentives. So you'll notice in February, we got a lot of stuff going on, right? And a lot of it ends February 28th, which gave us an opportunity to really look at our contests and incentives and say, hey, let's take a real simplified approach to contests and incentives so that everyone understands exactly what it is they have to do, and everyone's laser focused on one or two things every month. So you're going to see us come out with some very powerful contests and incentives that really laser focus in on just one or two things so that if I ask Curlins, what are you shooting for this month? He has the exact same answer as if I ask Alistair or if I ask, Mitch, because we're all in the same, we're all focused on one or two things that are going to help us build our business. So you're going to see a really focused approach to contests and incentives. But I got to tell you, we're investing a lot of money in this area, and you're going to see some of these things heading into Dallas. You'll see more coming out of Dallas. But at the same time, the biggest incentive that we have is just our own compensation plan. I mean, I don't know if you realize, but do you realize that just on Performance Club alone, we spend $10 million a year. $10 million just on Performance Club. So when somebody comes up to me and says, hey, are we going to run a contest? My number one thing in my head is going, are you taking advantage of the $10 million that's already on the table? Because we spend about $7 million on Performance Club cash, and we spend about $3 million on the trips that are also a part of Performance Club. So when they said earlier, do you know how much it costs to go to Cabo? I said, yes, I know exactly how much it costs to go to Cabo. It's right in my budget. I know, it's several $million to go to Cabo, to send everyone to Cabo. That's part of our big budget for incentives. But what you're going to see is us just doubling down on Performance Club. So I just want to let you know that it's not something you've been focused on. You're throwing away money. And we made some major changes to Performance Club in Nashville when we came out of Nashville. Because prior to Nashville, you had to have an organizational retention of 77%, which is just around company average, in order to take advantage of those bonuses. Well, over the summer of last year, we changed it to organizational or personal retention, all right, which made a big difference. But then going out of Nashville, we have another tier that is kind of our tier. Hey, if you're at 65 to 77, so you're improving your retention to get those bonuses, we pay you 75% of the bonuses, which was huge. And that one change added $85,000 per month on what we're sending out on Performance Club money, just that one change. So coming out of Nashville, we're now spending $1 million more on Performance Club per year than we were spending before Nashville. So that was a major announcement, major investment. So what I would say is when it comes to Performance Club is you have to keep it extremely simple. And you're going to see us do a better job explaining it and keeping it simple. So I know sometimes we get into the multipliers of recruits and all that different stuff, and it can seem a little complicated when you do that. Don't do that. Keep it simple. First of all, I do have to change our vernacular a little bit because it's so hard because we had a point system for years and years. 15 years? I think I finally just stopped saying points like a day ago, right? Because Jeff Bell does this every time I say points. There's no more points, all right? There is no points in Performance Club. It's premium. It's all about premium. So it's very simple. If you sell a $24.95 plan, how much is that in premium? 25, right? If you sell a $49.90 plan, how much is that in premium? 50, right? So it's simple. Don't make it any more complicated than that. It takes 90 premium dollars to be in Performance Club. It takes 180 premium dollars to be Performance Club Pro. It is really not any more difficult than that. 90 or 180. That's it. Now, if you have two choices on both of them. You can do 90 premium to be in Performance Club, or you can do 60 premium and recruit somebody. So 60 plus 1, 90 premium. 120 plus 1 will get you your 180 premium. So it's just how do you want to do it? You can do 60 premium plus 1 recruit, or you can do 90 premium. Keep it as simple as that for your new associates. Don't get into multipliers and grids and all of that stuff because they don't understand that. As they go to Fast Start training and so forth, hey, it's 60 premium and an associate and you're in Performance Club. And by the way, if you get the 90 premium first, you're in Performance Club. Now just remember on Performance Club, there's no carryover. So you got to do that every month. Now Performance Club Pro, it's 120 premium plus a recruit, or it's 180 in premium. It's really that simple. So let's all talk that language. Keep it that simple. And if somebody goes and recruits 2 people and they get more points and they go, I don't understand why I got more points, go, you got more points. I mean, really, you don't have to explain it. You get more points. You go recruit somebody else, get more points. But let's keep it so simple because what we want to do is increase. I think that as we grasp the concept, I mean, how many, when we made the change for matching bonuses for Performance Club, how many people all of a sudden saw their Performance Club checks go from $400 or $500 a month to having like a comma in it or close to a comma in it, right? I mean, right? We all saw increases. Maybe, and if you didn't, I'm going to give you a suggestion, right? Go recruit people, help them get in Performance Club. And as they get checks, you get a matching check. That's how you take your Performance Club check from $500 per month to $1,000 per month. That's how you take your Performance Club check from $1,000 per month to $2,000 per month. I mean, Mike Humes, I heard last month, his Performance Club check was over $5,000. You may not have even known you could get a Performance Club check for $5,000. And the only reason he's able to do this is because he has a large team of people doing what? Performance Club qualifying. So we have the Performance Club checks are now as big as you want them to be. If you want to receive a $1,500 per month Performance Club check, you can do that. Because you get matching bonuses when you recruit somebody and they Performance Club qualify. You get matching bonuses when you're a senior director. You get matching bonuses when you're an executive director. I mean, if you're an executive director and you have someone on your team Performance Club qualify, you're getting about a $95 matching bonus every time they Performance Club qualify and get that check. The Performance Club Pro check. Bottom line is, Performance Club qualify, help your team Performance Club qualify, and you're going to see your bonuses go up. So I just want to kind of talk about that because we just need to get more active on that. A couple other things. You've seen us just make a few mild changes. We have a new look to the newsletter, right? So, we put out the good news update so everyone gets to see my smiley face on the top of the newsletter. When it first came out, I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know if the whole field wants to see me on the top of this newsletter. But the bottom line is we just want to deliver a really positive message to the field and let everyone know what's happening. Hey, every week, there's good things happening. And we want everyone to know in the field what good things are happening. So we're going to share that with you. You'll see the newsletter come out tomorrow. We even have a little bit different look because we now have a banner for Ladies of Justice. We now have a banner for Legal Shield in Espanol. So it just keeps on getting better every week. We got a great team of people working on that. We have the Legal Shield Success channel that we're just going to keep on improving on, making better and better, deliver that training content for you. I mean, how many of you like what we've seen with Fast Start training so far? Right? I mean, the results are in. They're early results, but we know in January of 2019, if you went to Fast Start training and you were new, that you qualified to senior associate at a rate 3 times higher than the people that didn't go to the class. And I think we're going to see that even go to 4 times, 5 times higher. And why is that important? Because as Matt Layton told me the other day, when somebody does level up to senior associate in that first 20 days, on average, they sell 11 times more memberships and recruit 8 times more people over their career. So if you can take something and say, I have a 3 times more likely chance of them selling 11 times more memberships and recruiting 8 times more people, that ought to be a no-brainer. Every single associate. And you're going to see us in Dallas even just double down on Fast Start training and keep on improving on that program. And we want to just thank you to everyone that has participated and is participating, the trainers. A lot of great data has come from that. So we're just taking that information. We're making the training even better. And wouldn't it be great at some point where if an associate got started and they went on Legacy Online, there was a video on their dashboard that just they took it and it was the Getting Started Right video right on their dashboard. And then when they went to senior associate, a new video showed up and it taught them, hey, congratulations, here's your new video on how to get the manager. And then when they went to manager, there was a new, I'm just saying that may or may not happen. All right, so just thinking off the top of my head, all right? So there's some cool stuff coming. We talked about Ladies of Justice. Incredible. What the entire, by the way, not just Melissa, but the entire committee has done. Council? Is it council or committee? I want to committee. Okay. So anyone that's participating in Ladies, and by the way, all the ambassadors. It's not 11 or 12 women leading the charge. Like Melissa said, it's hundreds of women all across North America that are leading the charge. I think what's happening there, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. It is just growing and growing, growing. And by the way, all of these things are network. What Melissa's doing with Ladies of Justice, I mean, that's our motto in network, is to grow and to share with other people and just network. And it may be slightly different than what we do, but it's not different. It's just a different way of delivering the message to the way that they hear it, they understand it, and most importantly, that people are comfortable, working with it. And so if we can have that, and we can have Zooms, and we can have all of these live things, it all goes together and creates. Legal Shield in Espanol. Ray and Linda Rios have done a great job in Arizona. Met with them this week. We recorded some more content. But that's going to continue to get better and better and better. And it's in its infancy stages. But it's going to continue to get better. So continue to work with Legal Shield in Espanol if that's a niche in your market, because we're talking about it every day, and it just gets better. And if you say, hey, I think we could do this better, or we have a challenge here, just let Ray and Linda know, because I promise you they're being very proactive on just taking down any barriers or roadblocks with Legal Shield in Espanol to improve on the program every single day. And then I also just wanted to share one other thing, and that is, you may or may not know, but one of the things I found very interesting when I started working at Legal Shield is that we actually, Jeanne Fernandez's team, and I have 3 vice presidents that report directly to me, and Jeanne's one of them, and Jeanne Fernandez's team is amazing. What they do, what we see is we see the changes on our end, like when we call in as associates, and now we do a lot more interaction with like the chat features and things like that. We've done a lot of self-service. And every once in a while, I'll still have an associate come up to me and go, I really love the good old day when I could pick up the phone and I could call and they would answer that call like this or that. And I said, well, let me explain to you what's happening, because sometimes the good old days aren't always as good as we remember them. All right, we tend to have a rosier picture of things of 20 years ago than what actually was happening then, right? But what's happened, because we've done so much self-service, and we're talking about general questions, because what would happen is the same question would get asked 500 times. So we've been able to take a lot of that and make some of it self-done. Some of those things you still got to get on the phone and talk to somebody, but a lot of the basic things. What that's done is that's freed up a team of a bunch of people at the home office on Jeanne's team that all they do every single day is outbound phone calls. So they call every one of your new associates and welcome them to Legal Shield and offer their support. They call, when they see that someone's 5 days from level up qualifying and all they need is 1 or 2 more memberships, they call every single one of those people and say, hey, we noticed you're only 1 or 2 memberships from getting a bonus. We want to see what we can do to help you do that. When they're calling everyone on the Cabo leaderboard that's 200 spots away saying, hey, by the way, did you know this month you have double points that you could go from spot 350 to spot 170 if you just did this? They call every Performance Club qualifier a few weeks out and say, you only need 38 more premium dollars and you'll be in Performance Club. We make thousands of outbound phone calls every single month to your associates to have higher level up qualification percentages, higher retention, more people in Performance Club. And so I just want you to know the other side of, because maybe you see the side of some of the changes. What you don't realize is what that's done is that's freed us up to do stuff that actually puts money in your pocket, which is call every one of your associates and make those outbound phone calls. And by the way, I walk through all the outbound phone calls and just listen. I listen to what the associates are saying. I listen to the conversations, and any time that we have an opportunity to do it just a little bit better, say it just a little bit differently so the associate understands it better, things like that, we are very quick to make those changes. So if I ever feel there's a confusion on one end where maybe the associate is not quite getting it, I say, is there a better way we could be saying that so that the associate really understands what they've got in their hands so we get a better percentage of Performance Club? And anytime there's a chance to make improvements, we make those improvements right away. So I want to let you know some of the things that are happening. So I just wanted to kind of give everyone a little lay of the land of some of the things that are happening with your company before I talk about a short training here that I wanted to go, because it's exciting. It really is. What's going on is It's interesting. I have there's a call that happens every other week. It's a Zoom presentation. I've really gotten good at Zoom. A lot of things happen on Zoom. But Jeff put it together, our CEO, with myself and Glenn Peterson, the president of Business Solutions, John Pletcha, Darnell Self, and myself, and we get on there. And the entire reason that this call exists is just to talk about how can we drive more income into the field. That's the only reason it exists. And sometimes I wish that every associate could sit in some of the meetings that I sit in at once, more than once, is our CEO get up and say, listen, if the checks in the field are not going up, we're not winning. And so what are the opportunities that we could have bigger checks going out in the field? And so our goal this year is to have bigger checks, more checks. And honestly, last year was the second highest year that we've ever sent money to the field. We sent $114 million into the field last year. It was the second highest year we've ever had. And this year, our goal is to break that record and not be the second highest, be the biggest year of commissions we've ever had going into the field. So I just want to share all of that with you. Let me go ahead and share this short training I have with you. And I'll probably just run about 5 minutes over here, but I wanted to share a couple nuggets with you. But I thought, since I'm here, probably what you wanted to hear was some of the things that are happening that maybe you don't know is happening. But we're committed. We have some awesome people in Ada, Oklahoma that are committed. I was saying to a group last night, people asked me, well, what's it like? You work from home for 23 years. I go, well, I still work from home. My house now is, $31 million. It's on 86 acres. I live in the six. You talk about Justin had to leave to catch his plane. But he talks about a dream board. True story. About 6 months ago, Angela and I were talking, and we were talking about the Rick Haney suite at the home office. And she's like, all these years we've never stayed at the Rick Haney suite because on the 6th floor of Legal Shield, there's two suites. There's the penthouse that the Stonecyphers used to live in, which is gorgeous. And then there's the Rick Haney, for guests, there's a Rick Haney suite, and it's like 1,400 square feet. It's really nice, got a kitchen and all that stuff, and a couple big screen TVs, and it's really nice. And so Angela's like, we ought to stay one time there because I've always wanted to stay there and so forth. So we were talking about that like 6 months ago. And then this week we were staying there because it's now our house in Ada, Oklahoma, Rick Haney, and she's like, I said, like 6 months ago you were like, hey, I hope we could stay here, and I'm like, now we live here. So you got to be careful what you ask for. It is a short commute to my office. You just hit the elevator, go down to the second floor, network division. I'm right in my office, so it makes it great. But so let's talk about a couple things. Now, I actually stole this training from my time with John Maxwell about a year ago. So John Maxwell, Darnell Self, and I got a chance to spend 3 days with John Maxwell. And to me, that was a dream come true because John had been somebody that I had followed for years and years and years, studied all of his leadership training. So to actually spend, and there was only 45 of us there. So it was a very intimate group. It was 2.5 days. So the very first evening that we were there, we were having dinner with John. And, John always says, hey, my name's John. I'm your friend, so that way he can tell you something that gets you in the gut and you don't feel bad about it. And so this is a gentleman that has sold over 100 million leadership books. And he said, hey, first of all, before we even start, I need a commitment from you that you're going to teach us other people. He said, because if you just come here, gather the information, take your notes home, and then never do anything with it, you've wasted your time. And I'll say the same thing to you this weekend, is that a commitment to teach others. Unless you take what you've learned this weekend and actually teach it to other people, then you've wasted a weekend of time because you can grow. But really, where you get the biggest influence is to share this information with others so that other people get it. He taught the ACT principle of note-taking. When you're done with your notes, you put an A of things that apply to you, a C next to things you need to change about yourself, and a T next to things that you need to teach others. So when you see something, you go, oh my gosh, that really applies to me in my business. I got to make sure I study that piece. Or you may say, hey, you know what? This is something I really need to change about myself. I have not done a good job explaining Performance Club to my team. I need to change that. I have not done a good job promoting ladies of justice on my team. I need to change that. I have not done a good job, getting committed to the communication tools we have at Legal Shield. I need to change. These are things you can change about yourself. The T stands for things you can teach others. Teach others. In other words, what do you need to teach other people? Say, hey man, I really need to teach that concept to my team. So when you're done with a weekend like this, you got so many notes. Go back and reread your notes and start putting some A's, some C's, some T's, and then grab one of each and say, okay, this month I'm going to focus on one thing that applies to me, one thing I can change, and one thing I can teach. And you realize if you do that for a year, over the course of a year, you have applied 12 new concepts to your business. You've changed 12 things about you and your business, and you've taught 12 things that are going to have long-term success. In doing this, when I was talking to, here was a great opportunity. So on the first night we're with John Maxwell, he says, here's what I want everyone to do. Tomorrow, on day one, he said, I am going to have, these were the top leaders in the network marketing industry. Most of these people were making over $1 million a year, and they were from all different companies. And like I said, Darnell Self and I were there representing Legal Shield. He said, tomorrow I'm going to just answer one question from every one of you. So it's all about you. I said, I'm going to take 8 hours tomorrow and just answer your questions. Then the next day I'll teach you my material. So I go back to the room that night and I'm thinking, okay, this is my mentor. This is a person I've studied more than anybody else in the world on leadership. And I get a chance to ask him a question tomorrow. So I start writing down questions. So later that night I see Mr. Self and he's like, hey, did you write down some questions for tomorrow? I go, yeah. And he goes, how many did you write down? I said, 45. And he knows me and he goes, of course you did. I said, how many did you write down? He goes, well, I got to go write some more now. So I said, because he knows I'm a type A personality. That's just my way I'm wired. And I said, well, Darnell, I said, here's the thing. I've been waiting for years to talk to this gentleman. And what if I'm the 45th person to get called on? I am not going to stand up and say, all my questions have been answered. Thanks. Sit back down. I am going to have a thought-out question to ask, no matter if I'm the first person or the 45th person. I was like the 13th person, got my question answered. But here is what happened the next day. So the next day, Darnell and I got a chance to have lunch with John Maxwell and the president of, Mark Cole, the president of Maxwell team or whatever it's called. There's just 4 of us had lunch together. Which tells you how much he respects Legal Shield, that of all the companies he wanted to have lunch with, he wanted to have lunch with us. And so the 4 of us had lunch, and I came in with my notebook. Did anyone remember when John Maxwell taught in Columbus, Ohio? And he talked about his time that he got a chance to talk to the coach, and he had his. So I sat down my notebook, and John Maxwell looks at me and goes, "You got a lot of questions in there, young man." He says, "Give me your best question." And I don't know what hit me, but I said to him, I said, "John, the question that just came to my mind that's not even in my notebook is this. Yesterday you answered 45 questions from some of the smartest people in the network marketing industry. What was the one question that nobody asked you that you would have liked to have answered, but nobody asked it?" And John was taking a bite of his salad. He goes, and he looks at his president, Mark, he goes, "Oh, that's a good question." And under the table, I'm going, like, I just wanted him to remember me, right? So he's sitting there for like 20 seconds. It seemed like eternity, but it was probably 20 seconds. He said, "Yesterday, 45 of the top leaders in this industry asked me a range of questions. Every question had to do with how they lead their team. And not one question had to do with how to lead themselves. And yet the biggest struggle you're ever going to have as a leader is how to lead yourself. But nobody asked me how." And I said, to me, that was an aha moment. Because, and I put it up here, the hardest person on your team to lead is who? Yourself. And so I spent the years saying, how do I lead myself better? How do I do a better job? Because, we all get so frustrated with, my team didn't do this. My team didn't do that. But the one thing you can control is yourself. I had people say, I'm not getting a performance club check right now because of my retention. I said, well, you know what? Your personal retention counts too. That's 100% in your control. Doesn't matter what somebody on your team did. That's in your control. I invited 5 guests and none of them showed up. Guess what? You showed up. That was in your control. How do you lead yourself? What do you do every day to lead yourself? Because until you do a good job leading yourself, it's really hard to get other people to lead or follow you. How do you do those? And then he talked about the rule of 5. And the rule of 5 was simply that in everything that you do in life, there are 5 things that if you do over and over and over and over again will lead to your success. So if you want to be a champion, baseball player, there's probably 5 things you have to do every single day. He talked about the rule of 5. And so it got me thinking, in Legal Shield, what is the rule of 5 of Legal Shield? Like, what do I do every day that leads to my success? Now, I don't have the normal, because I talked about the other things at the beginning, I don't have the normal, say, 20 or 30 minutes I would take to go through these 5, but I want to give them to you. And then later on, we'll dig deeper into them at another time. But it got me thinking, and so I put together a list of 5 things, and I was talking to Mr. Self, and someone that I have a tremendous amount, one of the biggest rewards that I have gotten over the last year and a half of being a senior network vice president is how much time I've gotten to spend with Darnell Self. He and I become great friends. And just to, I can't even describe how priceless it is just to sit in a car from the airport in Dallas to Ada and just listen to him make 3-way phone calls, listen to him do team calls, and just have that drip off on you, just to see how the people that have so much success in our industry actually operate on a daily basis. How do they talk to somebody? Things like that. And by the way, that's a good reason that you should be in leadership positions. People say to me, well, a market leader doesn't really get paid. Well, if you're looking for money, you're looking for the wrong thing. You get to be around the people that you want to be like, and there can't be anything but good things that happen from that. Well, regional managers, that's a lot of work. It's less work than having to go back to a 9-to-5 because you were unsuccessful in Legal Shield. And it gives you the opportunity to be in that leadership team of people around you. Why do top business solutions folks still teach level 1 trainings? Because when you give back, when you do those things, you're in these leadership positions, you get to hang around with the people that you just can't help when that success rubs off on you. What happens? And so I thought about this rule of 5, and I ran it by Mr. Self, get his opinion. We kind of fine-tuned it a little bit on mine. By the way, his rule of 5 is quite different than my rule of 5. So what I'm going to go through with you is kind of what Melissa said on scripts. It's not about having my rule of 5 as your rule of 5. It's just about knowing what yours is so you can be successful at it every single day. So I'm just going to share mine with you very quickly, and I'm going to go through some of these slides very quickly. If you follow this, you're just going to be a big, boring, mundane, consistent success story. All right? We always say that the longest distance between 2 points is what? A shortcut. People are like, man, I want to race to the top. Problem is, if you race to the top, but you don't build a foundation, it's going to come tumbling down as fast as it got built. So you've got to build a strong foundation. So rule number 1 every day, personal development. Michael talked about this. You've got to pour into yourself. People say, how do you get up in the morning and have the energy you have all day long to do what you do? And I see you on Facebook, this and that. I said, I couldn't do it if I didn't wake up every day with a goal of doing personal development. It's great because my wife's also a great workout partner, so if she sees me ever getting off track on that, she'll be like, hey, you haven't read your book in like 2 days. You need to do that tomorrow morning. I'm like, yep, you're right. So when I'm in Ada, I wake up at 5:50 in the morning. By the way, they have an awesome gym at the home office. So it's huge and it's really nice. Got 3 Peloton bikes. It's like really, it's like state of the art. So I'm down there by 6:05. I'm doing my workout. Jeff's usually in there. So every once in a while you'll see, that would be a Facebook Live to see Jeff and I Pelotoning side by side on a Wednesday morning at 6 and 10 in the morning. I won't even say if we wear bicycle shorts or not. That's none of your business. All right. So, but just getting started the right way. But then coming back to the room, and I pick up my book that I'm reading, which is right now I'm finishing Jack Canfield's Success Principles. I'm also got Rise and Grind to start reading right after that. Angela just finished it. She gave me my copy back. She's like, I'm done. She gave it back to me. So I want to read Damon John's book before the convention. But filling my mind with that kind of material. I don't turn on the news like, what was talked about earlier today. That'd be crazy. Why would I want to fill my mind with negative when I have to be positive for so many people? That would just be death. And it wouldn't help anybody in this room if I was miserable when you called me. And so that you have to be willing to pour into yourself so you have enough to pour in to everybody else. I got to make sure that 8 a.m. when I'm starting my day, my cell phone is on 100% charge. My laptop is 100%. But that's me. I got to make sure I am 100% charged and ready to go. And then at the end of the day, when you're feeling like you're seeing that little red light and it's beeping at 3%, right? Then it's time to start all over and recharge your own battery so you have time to pour in to other people. All right? Now, the next thing I do every day, I make 2 exposures. Now, this is making 2 exposures easy or hard? I'm going to argue and say it's hard. Now, you might be surprised I say that. Has anyone in here ever tried to make 2 exposures every day for like 60 consecutive days and not miss a day? Was that easy or hard? To me, it was hard. Now, you might say it was easy to me. It was hard. Some days, I'm like, I still got to do one, and it's like 10 o'clock at night because you got so many things going on right? So yeah, if I said, hey, go make 2 exposures tomorrow, you could do that. But if I said, Curlins, go make 2 exposures every day for the next 90 days and don't miss a day, if I asked all of you to do that, probably 2% of you would do that. Because it isn't easy, but is it simple? That's all I needed this business to be, was simple. I didn't need it to be easy. I just needed it to be simple. Hard would be showing up at a grocery store 6 days a week on holidays when you want to go spend time with your family on Christmas, but you have to operate the store the night before, things like that. That's hard. So I just don't want to, because I think sometimes we say, hey, this is easy, go do 2 exposures a day, and then people leave the room and they go, it's not easy for me. And I want to let you know, it wasn't easy for me either, but it was worth it. I could go out and I could do 2 exposures a lot better than I could do other things that I did not want to do. And so some of these things we say are not always easy, but they're worth it. And if you do it consistently, and by the way, once you do something for 21 consecutive days, it gets easier. I'm not going to say it ever becomes easy, but it becomes part of a habit. Listen, I don't think working out in the morning is easy. But I have to do it. At the same time, I feel better when I get it done. I mean, there's been plenty of mornings that I wake up, I'm like, I really don't want to go do that. And there's some mornings that I'm like, I am not riding a Peloton, but I will walk for 35 minutes. Like, I'll take the easy way out, but at least I'm doing something, right? And so we all have to figure out, hey, whatever it is for you, but make it consistent, because once you get in the habit of doing something for a while, it becomes easier. The third thing, every day I follow up with prospects. So it doesn't do you any good to fill up your pipeline with prospects if you're not going to follow up. Michael talked about how he used to follow up and make those calls, and I promise you that was not easy. There were a lot of days he did not want to make those phone calls, but he knew what he was doing it for. He said it's worth it. There's a difference between easy and worth it. So every day I'm making those follow-up calls. And some days I can follow up with 2 people, and some days I can follow up with 30 people, but every day. So if you go a week without following up with anybody, you're getting out of the rhythm. You're out of the system. As long as you stay in the rhythm, I've always found like with working out, if I take a week off, I might as well take 6 months off. Like once I break the rhythm, it's hard to get back in the rhythm. As long as I stay in the rhythm, even if it's just a couple days a week, if I stay in the rhythm, it's easier to stay in a rhythm than it is to get out of the rhythm and then try to come back. So just stay in the rhythm of that. Follow up with your prospects every single day. That's the third thing. And then every day I work with my leaders. You have these people on your team that are out there and they need to know that you appreciate them. They need to know that you're there to support them. And so just following up with your leaders to say, hey, what do you need? How can I help you? How can I support you? I saw your Performance Club qualify. Congratulations. That's a big step. Let's make sure we do it 2 months in a row, 3 months in a row. You get people in a rhythm of doing Performance Club, they're going to stay in the rhythm of doing Performance Club. So work with your leaders every single day. And then number 5 is every day you help somebody get started. Now again, maybe it's somebody that you personally sponsored and you can help them get started, but maybe it's just someone on your team like, hey, Alistair, I saw you sponsored a brand new person on the team. Congratulations. By the way, let's do a welcome call with that person. I'd love to introduce myself to them. And have you done the game plan interview with them yet? No? Okay, well, let's make sure we do that. And I'm in there and I'm helping them do that. So I'm helping somebody new get started on the team every day. I was telling a story last night, and I see Barry sitting over here. And I have a 6-figure ringer on my team. And I was telling the story about how I recruited a young man with a DVD a few years back, who then recruited his boss that was working for the state of Florida with another DVD, who then went to an event in Miami, met Barry, brought him to a business briefing that I happened to be the guest speaker. And then I saw that, hey, this is a gentleman I should probably work with one-on-one. So I started building that relationship one-on-one. And then I said, you know what? So I helped him get started. If I had relied on a new person getting him started, he may or may not be here today. But I said, you know what? I need to be involved in as many people getting started as I can. And then once he developed as a leader, as a constant contact, recognize he's a leader. I can't just throw him out there and see in 2 weeks how he's doing. I got to build that relationship. And so that's what we're talking about, these 5 steps of doing those things. So every day, let me go to the end here. Every day, help someone get started right. I get started right. So every day I get started right. I make those 2 exposures. I follow up. I work with my leaders. And I help new associates get started. And to me, that was the rhythm. That was whether you're part-time or whether you're full-time, everybody can kind of get in that rhythm. Hey, I get myself going for the day. I do what I have to do my personal development. And then I make my exposures every day. I put new people in the pipeline. I don't talk to the same 10 people every day for a month. I put new people in the pipeline, constantly filling that pipeline. And then I follow up with those folks, and I recognize, hey, are you ready now? Do you need a few more weeks? Do you need a few more months? Let's get you to a few live events. I work with my leaders, and then I help people get started. One of the things we're doing a better job, and I just want to share it with you this afternoon, is we want to get on a cadence that you can count on as associates so you know how to build into events. Now, I'm going to give you a statistic today that I think, to me, said everything I needed to know about how to build. In January of 2019, just last month, we had a January 12th launch, right, all across North America with live events. We had 50 different live events going on, thousands of associates, a lot of guests into those events. And by the way, we did some in the morning, we did some in the evening. I had asked all of the leaders to do it in the evening. Some of them already had morning events booked, so we were like, okay, that's fine. If you already have it booked, keep it in the morning, things like that. But I just was convinced through other things that I had heard and evaluated, the evening and afternoon we're going to get more guests. So we did some in the morning, some in the evening, because like I said, some of the rooms were already booked and we didn't want to disturb all those things. And on that day, we had the biggest recruiting Saturday that we've had since we started auto processing on the weekends, on January 12th of this year. And until the last day of January, the second to last day of January, so January 30th and January 31st were the only 2 days of January that beat January 12th in recruiting. The following Saturday, we had a Zoom blitz, and we did 27 Zooms. We did 13 in English. We did 13 in Spanish because Ray misunderstood me. All right, so that was kind of another story. That was funny. I asked him to do 3. He thought I said 13. He set up 13, and he's like, man, that was so much work. I go, I only asked you to do 3. He goes, I thought you said 13. Anyway, so he's like, I didn't know how many speakers I could get in Spanish to do all these Zoom blitzes. But we had 13 in English, we had 13 in Spanish, and we had one for the deaf community that 37 people attended as well, which was phenomenal. It's 27. We had 2,700 views of those live Zoom presentations on Saturday, January 19th. On January 12th, for the live presentations that day, I'll say that weekend because, some of it spills over into Sunday, but that weekend, January 12th and 13th, we recruited 3 times more people than the Zoom weekend with about the same participation. That ought to tell you something about the power of live events. However, before you say, well, we shouldn't do Zooms, the weekend that we did the Zoom Blitz was the second biggest recruiting weekend we had in like 4 months. So the Zoom Blitz produced twice the recruits of an average weekend, but only produced about 1/3 of the recruits of the live event weekend. And that's why we have to have a mixed strategy. And so that's why the strategy that we've said is, okay, February 2nd and February 9th is all about live events, just like this. In Dallas, Texas, they're getting ready to start here in a few minutes. Jeff Bell's there. It's all about live events, about getting guests in the events. So these events, February 2nd, February 9th. On February 16th, next weekend, we're going to do a Zoom again, a Blitz again, 13 live Zooms on next weekend. So you can be prepared for that. You might say, well, we have a level 1 training going on. Go to your level 1 training. I'm all about training. Everyone in here, as Alistair said, should be at level 1 training. I love training. It's only going to help you learn how to sell the product better and have better retention. So just because you're at a training from 12 to 5, how does that stop you from inviting someone to go look at a Zoom presentation? It's just a matter of sending a quick take, go check this out, right? So you can be doing both. You could be sitting, you could be doing, you could be using the Zoom Blitz weekend while you're also at a training. So you can be doing both. The following weekend, we're going to do a PBR Blitz like we did at the end, right? PBR Blitz. And we're also going to have some live Zooms there. And then we're going to repeat that exact cadence in March. So March 2nd and 9th will be all about live events. March 16th will be a big Zoom Blitz. March 23rd will be a PBR Blitz with some Zooms tied into it. And then coming out of Dallas, we are going to be on that cadence for the rest of 2019. So you can count on, hey, my Super Saturdays. But here's the difference that you're going to see coming out of Dallas. There will be no more morning Super Saturdays. And for some of you, that's going to be a shock to your system, because you've been doing it for 20 years. There's a story about a young lady who was making a Christmas ham, and the tradition, as she was taught it, was you cut the ends off the ham, and you put it in the oven. And so she went to her mom one time. She says, Mom, why do we cut the ends off the ham before we make the ham? She goes, yeah, I don't know. That's the way I was taught to do it, but go ask Grandma. So she goes to Grandma and says, Grandma, I don't understand. Like, why do we cut the ends off the ham before we put it in the oven? And Grandma says, you know what? I don't know. That's the way I was taught to do it, but go ask Great-Grandma. So she goes to Great-Grandma. She goes, Great-Grandma, why do we cut the ends off the ham before we make the ham? And Great-Grandma says, because I didn't have a pan big enough to fit the whole ham. So sometimes we do stuff over and over and over again because it was the way it was taught to us, and we just assume there's a reason to do it that way. And so just because we've done morning Super Saturdays for 20 years doesn't mean that that's necessarily the right way to do it. We proved with many different Super Saturdays, not just January 12th, we've tried it out with many different Super Saturdays, that the afternoon and evening Super Saturdays had more than 3 times the guest turnout as the morning events. And so if we know that we're going to get more guests to come to an afternoon and an evening, why would we keep doing the same thing over and over and over again that we know is producing less results? And it's not just January 12th. We've had many different, I can show you. And by the way, we got the concept from somebody I learned from that Darnell and I both met at this John Maxwell event in Primerica, who's making over $1 million a year. Says, when we went from Saturday mornings to Saturday evenings, we got 5 times more guests. He goes, make that change, you'll come back and thank me, is what he told me a year ago. And we toyed around with it, we played it, we experimented with it, we said, you know what? He's right. The data just shows it. And so again, you're going to see us coming out of Dallas to those. So say, local leaders, why are we doing this? That's why we're doing it. These are recruiting events. We have to wrap our minds around the fact that Super Saturdays are recruiting events. And so it's all about you bringing out your guests to see the information. What Super Saturdays have become over the last 20 years are training events. We come out and we see, say, hey, I'll come out and get fed myself, which is important, but these are going to be recruiting events that you know you can bring it out and be a high-power recruiting event. I'm just going to close, and I know it's been a long day, and I'm just going to close in the last few minutes. And I just want to just tell you my story real quick, because I think a lot of times, people hear different stories, and they think to themselves, oh, well, they don't know my story. I went through you don't know what I'm going through. And I always say when I do my testimonial, I'll say things like, well, Angela and I, we had a retail store, and then we got started with Legal Shield, and we were working 8 to 10 hours a week in the retail store. 8 to 10 hours a week in our business. And within a few years, we were making more money with Legal Shield than we were making with the retail store. So we sold the retail store. And that's pretty much all you have time for in a testimonial. But that's actually not what happened. It's sort of what happened, but it's not what happened. What happened was we had a retail store, and it wasn't going well. We had invested our entire life savings in it. We had spent about $90,000 to open the retail store. And so when Legal Shield was introduced to us, it was kind of like, oh, wait, maybe this is a way out. I kind of knew that we had about 2 years left where we could kind of make things work, where we could at least pay the bills out of the store, but I knew that I probably only had about 2 more years. And so we worked our Legal Shield business like crazy for 2 years. Matter of fact, my first year in Legal Shield, we made $1,593. That was for 9 months. We started March 26th of 1996. I still remember that first 1099 because I actually rented a hotel room every Tuesday night and paid for it out of my own pocket, $50 every Tuesday night. I closed my business at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays. We were open 9 to 9. I went to the Best Western right next to the retail store, and we just had our business briefing. And back then, that's what we did. And so I probably spent more than $1,593 my first year just renting that room. And I remember feeling so frustrated because I thought, I got to be doing something different. And I would go to Super Saturdays. I'd see Mike and Michael and you and your dad. I'd see you guys do the Super Saturdays, and it was inspirational to me because I thought, you know what? They're doing it. I can do this. And I'd go back and I'd run my business briefing. Well, the second year, I made about $12,000 in Legal Shield part-time. I went to my very first national convention. It just motivated me more that, hey, you know what? I can do this. But then we came back from the national convention, and 3 months later, I walked up to my retail store one day, and there was a padlock and chains on the door because we hadn't paid the rent in like 3 months. And at that time, we had a newborn baby. So Matthew, he's 22 now. He was like 6 months old. We were living in a 1-bedroom apartment. So I had to come home and tell Angela, well, the bad news is we're out of the retail business. The good news is we're full-time Legal Shield. which wasn't really good news at that time because we were like not even at the manager level. We were like senior associates, and we'd only made like $12,000 part-time. And I wish I could tell you that for the next 3-4 years, we went out, went after it, and we just made it happen. But that's not what happened. For the next 3-4 years, we just grinded it out. And we were making like $1,000 per month. I was driving a $1,000 car I brought off my brother. I'd go to the business briefings. I remember one time going to a business briefing, having our electricity shut off right before I walked out the door to go to the briefing. So I'm walking into a briefing, and meanwhile, my wife and our newborns at home with no electricity. But I had to go to the briefing because I had this was I never looked at it, I never walked in the briefing with a bad attitude because I always looked at it as my way out. So I always wanted, now I might be in a bad mood walking in, a bad mood walking out, but while I was there, this was my way out. And we did that. And then we got evicted from our apartment about 3 months later. So now we have a newborn, and we went to live with my mom and dad. And it's a little bit, I don't know if humiliating is the right word, but it just weighs on you because we both have 4-year degrees from great universities. I went to one of the best business schools in the Midwest. All my friends had great jobs, making $60,000 a year, $80,000 a year, $100,000 a year. And at any point, I could have went out and done that. And so it wasn't like I was unemployable and I had no options. And I went to Angela at one point and I said, you know what, I will go out, I'll get a corporate job, we'll go out and I'll do those things, and we can't live like this. And she said, you know what, she said, if we have to eat peanut butter sandwiches for the next 3 years, and I don't even care where we live, go build this business. And if it was a Hallmark movie, that would have been the end, and we would have gone on and got our ring the next year, but it wasn't. It was more like a Lifetime movie. So if you know what I mean. Hallmark, everyone gets together. Lifetime, someone's always up dead at the end of that thing. So we go out and we just grind it out for like 2 more years, and then we moved to Florida, and we ground it out again, and it took us 11 years to get our 6-figure ring. But what's interesting about that is 3 years after we got our 6-figure ring, we got our 250 ring. And then 300,000. I'll end with this, is I have a friend, my best friend. We went to high school together. We went to grade school together, went to high school together. We were roommates in college, like, one of these guys. And he wanted to have that intervention with me. Rob, hey, you got a family, and for like 8 years, he kept telling me that what I was doing was crazy. And he was my best friend, and it's hard to hear from people that you want them to like. And it took him like 10 years before he finally came to me and said, hey, what? He's an attorney for a big law firm in Cleveland. He's a partner over there. And it took him 10 years for him to come to me and say, good thing you didn't listen to me. And then when I texted him the press release of me becoming president, the only thing he sent me back was, well, you're one persistent sucker, I'll give you that. So, I say that to say that I don't know what you're going through, but I promise you that the leaders that walked across this stage today have gone and are going through and can relate to whatever that situation is. And the only reason that I took the position as president of Network Division was to help every single person in Legal Shield get to that spot that you're looking to get to as fast as you're looking to get there. And so I appreciate all of you. I thank you for all the kind words. This is going to be an amazing year. We have so much going for us. And I will say this, there is an event today in Southern California, and they're talking about beating you. Well, I wish they could say they can't do it, but they can, because they only fell 14 recruits short of you last month. And they're catching up every month. So they're closing in on you. And unless Florida leads the way, you'll be number 2 this month. And I don't like to be number 2 in anything I do. I don't even like the sound of number 2. So, if for Legal Shield to win and win big, I'm telling you right now, Florida has to lead the way. For the last 3 years, Florida has led the way in recruiting, has led the way in production, has led the way in Ladies of Justice, has been the shining example. And I don't want anyone in this room to take that for granted. And let's get to work, and let's make sure Florida stays the number 1 state in the union. Thank you.